Hi, this is Jessie Freund, CPD TKA with OPH Rescue, today presenting markers, what they are and why they are important. Today we'll be covering what a marker is, why they are important, word versus clicker, common marker words, charging them up, how to use a marker, the marker sequence, and then we'll watch a couple of videos demonstrating this. And timing is everything, and practice, practice, practice. So what is a marker? A marker is a word or a click from a clicker to indicate that a specific behavior is correct and will be followed by a reward. It's like a good job signal that dogs can associate with positive reinforcement. Why markers are important. They help your dog to understand what they did to get a reward. Helps you to communicate more clearly and concisely. Markers are a cornerstone of training. Clear communication is the entry point for all training. If we can't clearly communicate with the learner, it's going to be really hard for them to learn, right? So for an example is if a dog gets a treat and then 5 to 10 seconds later after they set, they may have done a bunch of different behaviors by the time they get rewarded. And so a marker word solves this. And in essence, they buy you time if you can't immediately give them a reward. And we'll explain this further here in the next few slides. Okay, so a word versus a clicker. You might be wondering what's the difference. Well, they work the same. They both mark a desired behavior. The clicker always sounds the same, making it the most audibly consistent. Which, when we're talking about being clear and concise, that can be really important. Whereas when we use our voices, we might get excited and we might, change the inflection, and then that might mean something else to our dogs as they are good at detecting our emotions. Some dogs can find a clicker to be too loud. If so, select a quiet clicker, and you can also muffle the clicker by wrapping it with fabric. So here is, I have a couple examples handy. Here's a standard clicker, whereas this is a quiet clicker. So it's quite a bit softer, oops, sorry, which is really nice. And then again, you can muffle it more if you need to. Another good thing about a marker word is that you never have to remember to grab it. We might forget the clicker, but as long as you have your voice, you have your marker word. I personally like to teach both and then use whichever is most appropriate at any given time. I like having options. Okay, so some common marker words that you can use. I have a list here, but first we want to pick a short monosyllabic word. Avoid words that are overly used in everyday conversation. So the reason we want those short words, again, is to keep them as short and concise as possible. So some examples are yes, good, yip, nice. Really just anything you don't overly use and is short. That's what we're looking for here. So after you've selected your marker word, we want to charge it up. And the easiest training you'll ever do. You're going to say that marker word, and then you just hand your dog a treat. That's it. And you repeat this about 10 times until your dog understands the association. And you'll know when your dog gets it because they will look excited, they'll probably be wagging, and they might even be drooling. Okay, so how do we use the marker? So now that you've selected your word and charged it up, let's put it to use. We want this word to mean, I like what you just did, and I would like you to keep doing it. So here's some examples. Let's say we want the dog to sit. We're going to say sit, and then right when your dog's butt hits the ground, we're going to mark it, either with your word or with the click. So same with down. If we want them to do a down, we mark right when their belly hits the ground. And then let's say we ask them for a touch. You're going to say touch, and then mark right when their nose touches your hand. And then all this always follows it with a reward. Okay, so here's that sequence again. So the cue, then the behavior performed, then we mark, then we reward. So the cue is whatever it is we want them to do. So if we want them to sit, that's the cue. So we would say the cue. So sit in this example, then your dog would sit, right? Once the butt hits the ground, we mark it, and then we hand them food or a reward. Doesn't have to be food. Okay. And then I have a couple videos to show exactly what I just described. So on this first video, we have Quincy Bones. He is going to sit. I'm going to use a marker word, and he is on a leash. He's on a long line, just so you can see what that looks like. So these do have audio, so we'll just listen for when he gets marked. Quincy Bones, you come. You sit. Yes. There you go. And then we'll do the same thing here with Pagoda. Same thing. She's outside where she's on a long line, and I'm going to use a marker word. Cody, sit. Yes. And she's a little chompier, isn't she? Okay. Next we have Pagoda again. Pagoda is going to be in a couple of these videos. We're still outside, but we're in a backyard now. The first video I'll show you is we're going to do a sit with a marker word again. You can kind of see from the side. Cody, can you sit? Good. So she did a little hop in the front, but we're not going to worry about that because she pulled it together, right? We'll still count it. Here, we're going to use the clicker as to mark the sit. Ready? Sit. Okay. And next up, we did a down using the clicker. Ready? Down. Okay, and she got 2 treats because I was feeling generous. You can just do 1 treat. You can do more. Okay, and then this next video, 2 cues, 2 markers. So I just wanted to show sort of if you were like wanted to ask for a couple things. In this version, I chose to mark for each one, so you can see what that looks like. Ready? Can you sit? Yes. Good. Touch. Yes. And I should have said this already, but yes was the marker word I had chosen here. Okay. All right, so timing is everything. Be sure to mark the behavior you are looking for. Like we said before, when asking for a sit, we want to mark when their butt hits the ground, not the wind up. So whatever they're doing before, that's not part of the sit. Even if it looks like they're about to sit, we just want to get that when the butt hits the ground. So it's very clear what we're asking for. If you wait to mark or mark too early, you can accidentally reinforce unwanted behaviors. And that's when you see dogs kind of doing like several things in a row, or they might throw in a jump in there. You know, all kinds of stuff happens. Okay, so practice, practice, practice. So remember that you're human, not a robot. You will make mistakes, and that is okay. Timing is important, and the only way to get good is to practice. You want to practice with lower stakes. So, you could practice maybe with a dog you've already taught things to, and you could just kind of practice with your timing. Another way to practice is with the lowering foot method. So you can grab another person, ask them to just stand in front of you and bend their knee so that their foot is off the ground, and then slowly lower it to the ground. Once their foot hits the ground, you mark it either with your marker word or a clicker. And then they can just keep doing that a few times so you can get used to getting that timing really nice. And it's pretty low stakes because no one cares when that foot hits the ground, maybe other than the owner of the foot. If you do accidentally mark, we just want to reward anyway, because we want that association to be really strong and we want the dogs to be game. If they're like, well, only sometimes you pay when I hear that word, it's not going to be as strong. And we don't want that. So pay every time. Okay, so in close, we're going to pick a marker word that is short, easy to say and not overly used in daily conversation. And then we want to charge it up because we want to make sure that association is very strong so we know they know exactly what we're talking about. We want to use markers to have clear and concise communication between you and your dog. As I said, without communication, it's really hard to teach anybody anything, right? Timing is important and it will get sharp with practice. And training should be fun. And I feel if, once we know how to communicate with our animals, um, it does become fun. It's really fun to see dogs have that light bulb moment. Um, Everyone feels good about that. They do, you do, we're all having fun. And lastly, if your dog is exhibiting behaviors that feel beyond your reach to remedy, contact a positive reinforcement based trainer to help you come up with a plan. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching, and happy training.